But the anvil is going to be a little bit different, right? If we scroll back to the top, we're saying otherwise grab the existing addresses from the live network. Great. Well, on a local network, those contracts don't exist. So we're going to have to deploy those contracts ourselves on the Anvil config. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to do something a little bit different. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to have to deploy the mocks and then return the mock addresses. A mock contract is basically like a fake contract. It's like kind of like a dummy contract. It is going to be a real contract, but it's going to be a contract that we own, we can control, etc. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to do a vm.start broadcast down here. This way we can actually deploy these mock contracts to the Anvil chain that we're working with. And since we're using this VM keyword, we actually can't have this be a public pure. And additionally, our helper config needs to be is script in order to have access to this VM keyword. And let's also add a vm.stop broadcast as well. So in here, let's deploy our own price feed. In order to deploy our own price feed, we're going to need a price feed contract. So what we're going to do is actually in our test file, we're going to create a new folder called mocks. And this is where we're going to put all of our contracts that we need to do testing, right? It's going to be a real contract, but we're going to put it in the test folder just so that we separate it. We say, hey, this contract is different than our core code base. And we're going to create a new file, call it mock v3 aggregator.sol. Now, instead of us actually creating this ourselves, there's actually already a mock v3 aggregator in the Chainlink Brownie contracts section. However, it's an older version of Solidity. It's version 0.6.0. So I'm going to save you all some trouble from having to rewrite that in a new version. And if you want to just come to the Foundry Fund Me F23, go to the test folder. Oh, it looks like I don't have it in a mock here, but it probably will be in a mock folder here. And we can just copy paste this entire contract. So we'll copy it, go to our code base and paste it in here. This has all the code of a price feed, essentially. We have, if we scroll down, we can see some functions that we're familiar with, like latest round data, which is what we use in our price converter. And if we scroll up, we can see in the constructor, we give it a decimals and an initial answer. And we also have an update answer function so that anytime we want to mess with this contract or update it ourselves in our Anvil tests, we can, which is great. So we're going to deploy this and we're going to use this address as the price feed address on our Anvil chain. So in here, well, first off, we need to import that. So let's go ahead and import mock v3 aggregator from /mocks, or excuse me, /test /mocks /mock v3 aggregator.sol. And down at the bottom, we're going to say mock v3 aggregator mock price feed equals new mock v3 aggregator. And we can see the constructor of this, it takes a decimals and an initial answer. So we know that the decimals of ETUSD is 8. So we can just put 8 in here. And then initial answer, we could do something like 2000 E8 because it has 8 decimals. We could say it starts at a price of 2000. And this will be the address that we put into the network config. So now we could say outside of the broadcast, because we don't need to do this inside of the broadcast, we could say network config, memory, anvil config equals network config, do a little parentheses like this, price feed, it'll be the address of the mock price feed, like that. We'll add the little semicolon there. And then, of course, we say return anvil config. All right, great.